What I'd like to sort of talk about is almost a tiny little case study of how synthetic data can take a task that's a very important business task and give folks that are leveraging the synthetic data, a meaningful competitive advantage. Okay, and so to set the stage for this, right, the task I want to focus on is the task of search and discovery. It's a task I've been spending, a healthy amount of my time thinking about, right? And what is the task at the end of the day? The task at the end of the day boils down to capturing some form of consumer intent, right? So a customer may say, they're looking for an electric razor. Your job is then to come back with hopefully results. In this case, hopefully electric razors, right? It'd be a bad idea, by the way, to come back with razor scooters, right? That would not be good, okay? So this is a simple toy example, and you can see how this example could get far richer, far more complex. So how have people, so just setting the stage for this, how have people worked on this task in the past? This task has a rich history, okay? And one piece of that history, lies in an area called information retrieval, which is I'm going to actually think about what was searched for, right? Or what the consumer is looking for. And I'm going to think about this in a way that's similar to somebody that's searching for, searching a database. So they search for electric razors. I'm going to actually go to my database, which is maybe a product catalog or something like that. I'm going to pull back, as many electric razors as I can. And so what I'm maximizing for at some level is what I'm sending, relevant to the task at hand. Okay, so that's like baseline, right? I search for an electric razor. You give me electric razors. You don't give me a razor scooter, right? So that's baseline. We actually got beyond this baseline about 20 years ago, okay? There were a host of companies, a great example is Endeca, that decided to kind of build technology that let us, address that task and do that task at scale, do it quickly, so on and so forth. This is fundamentally a data-driven problem, right? Ideally, I'd get to see a ton of human behavior, right? And based on all of that human behavior, conclude, hey, this person is looking for an electric razor, and I kind of know who they are, right? Here's kind of the exact set of electric razors I'm going to show them, okay? And you know what? Maybe while I'm at it, I might show them stuff that's not really an electric razor either, but is related to electric razors. I'll sneak that in there, perhaps. Who knows? This requires a lot of data. And typically, for the context I'm actually talking about, unless you're, let's say, Amazon, you don't have the scale of data, okay, to get to that second level, right? So you're fundamentally stuck at the Endeca level, right? Like information retrieval. Somebody searches for electric razors. Yes, you'll bring electric razors back, but you're not going to be able to leverage all the stuff I was just talking about, right? Leverage essentially how human beings behave, how they choose, et cetera, to kind of really maximize the value of that session. How do we overcome this data gap, right? One way of overcoming this data gap is through the use of synthetic data. And so in particular, what is the synthetic data in this context? The synthetic data really corresponds to really, being able to simulate how a potential human being might react to a variety of different sets of electric razors, right? So I could say, hey, listen, you're John, you're 70 years old, and you're looking for, an electric razor, right? And how does 70-year-old John, look for electric razors? I fire up this persona and I show 70-year-old John a whole bunch of different assortments of electric razors, and in doing this, I realize that 70-year-old John is really cheap. And, I know exactly what direction to go in with showing him razors without really, working with the actual 70-year-old John. And so that's a giant advantage, right? That's a giant advantage. How has that giant advantage actually played out for us? Okay. So we did a study recently where we asked if we take state-of-the-art frontier pre-trained models and use those models for the problem I just talked about, right? How good are those models out of the box? And how good are those models if you add to those models a whole bunch of synthetic behavioral data? So bear in mind, right, this is not looking at any real data. It's just looking at synthetic behavioral data. What we found was that, an important measure of efficiency, something referred to as recall, almost doubled when you actually took a frontier model for this task at hand, okay, and trained that frontier model a little bit more with a whole bunch of synthetic data. Recall nearly doubled. What was even more remarkable was when we then took some real data for the context, and tacked that real data on, it had a positive effect, but that positive effect was substantially less than the jump we got from pre-training with synthetic data. And so this really kind of highlights how powerful synthetic data can be in tasks that are super, super central to retail, such as search and discovery.